During the making of this scene, we didn't really look at the camera settings yet. So the reason why I didn't look at this is because I don't have a lot of creative control over the camera setup, because it needs to match with the backplate I shot. So let's have a look at the camera settings right now. Over here in the shape node of the camera node, we have an Arnold tab once again, and it's set to a perspective camera. So there's multiple types of cameras in Arnold. So cylindrical, orthographic, where there's no perspective, the spherical camera, fisheye, and then a VR camera. So I've only ever used the perspective and the fisheye. Sometimes the fisheye is nice to create some nice camera effects when when you have a bit more of a creative license over the image you're making. But anyway, so let's go ahead with the perspective. So we have an exposure slider, which it's like a multiplier on the weight of all the rays. So let's not touch this. I usually much prefer to do this in post-production than in the camera settings. And we have the depth of field. I skipped the filter map and the rolling shutter because these are really rare cases. The filter map would be useful, for example, to only render a part of your image that isn't let's say, a rectangle. So often this is used, I think, for when you render with a VR camera and you really have to render massive amounts of pixels. Then when you have to re-render stuff, you often will only want to re-render a part of your image, and over here you can mask that out. Then the rolling shutter is just a camera effect which occurs in real cameras because of the way your sensor reads images. You can have a look at the Arnold documentation. It's pretty cool but pretty useless in most scenarios. Then to the useful stuff. Enable depth of field. There we go. So as you can see right now, the rays diverge and we have some depth of field. Brilliant. So I know that this scene, my point of interest is about 49.5 centimeters away. I'm going to change that. Perfect. Usually how I would measure that would be I would place a locator at my point of interest, and then in the head-up display, heads-up display, I would do the object details. So over here I can read what the distance is from the camera. So the aperture size, Arnold does not work with f-stops, but instead it works with the radius of the actual aperture. So it's a linear conversion between the f-stop and the aperture size. But Arnold likes to do it with the aperture size. So let's push this up to something a bit more radical so we can start seeing what's happening. And the amount of blades, 0 is perfect circle, 5 is a pentagon, etc., etc. I'm gonna leave this at 0 to get a circle. Then the curvature of the blades, those are all this provides some creative control. It's very hard to show you over here, but the documentation is pretty good. The rotation and the aspect ratio if you want to squeeze it to get more of an anamorphic look. And then over here we have the motion blur settings, which I don't usually touch. And then we have some nice radial distortion over here, in case you would want to use that. In my case, I undistorted the backplate instead, and so I could match it to a perfect perspective camera. I thought that would be the better way of working here. As you can see right now, this diverges the rays, just like it would be in a real camera, but reverse. So it's pretty beautiful. I'm a big fan of ray traced depth of field.